Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I'm joined today by a guest. I nearly called you by your press name, Rod Gilley, owner of RDG Books Press, which is very difficult for me to say, but I made my way through it. How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. I love chatting with you. I always look forward to any chance, uh, and very honored that you would make room for me on your show. Thank you.
Of course, of course. I said months and months and months and months and months ago that there would be a place for you. I just got overwhelmed with requests. But yeah, I appreciate you being patient. It's probably been like a year since I first said that you could come on, but we're here now. So we've had a few people join. We've got apparently the entire Dark Veil Society. I don't know who runs the account, but I imagine it's probably just one person. We've also got Sarah Arnu, who is apparently postponing watching The Traitors to be here, which I appreciate very much. I'm glad you're here. And we've also got Jasper. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us. I assume you mean Dragon Boy as in Matt Falcon. He never comes. He never turns up unless it's for him. So he's probably not going to be here. And it's Blake. Hi, Blake. How you doing? I'm going to be interviewing Blake soon. And I'm very much looking forward to that as well. But yeah, thank you all for joining us today. I'm sure we'll get more people trickling in as the time goes on. So before I start rattling off a bunch of questions, can you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I'm Rod Gilley, and I'm the founder and CEO of RDG Books Press. Long before that, I became a writer and then a published author. And then a natural step for me was to become a professional editor.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a couple of years and was inspired by someone I respect very much. And I decided that as an author, knowing what it's like to be an author and the market being what it is, how very difficult it is to get a break if you're a new writer, I decided to open my press and create what I didn't see existed anywhere else. I'm a lifetime entrepreneur, and that's what entrepreneurs do. We create things, and you're well aware of that because idiosyncrasy is growing and growing and growing and growing. And I saw the fabulous book cover you produced, unmatched.
I will say the cover artist did most of the work. We just did very good quality printing for it.
Well, I've seen all the major producers, and you can compete with any of them. Absolutely fabulous cover.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of trial and error with that one. That was like months and months and months of back and forth in the making, but we got there. So thank you so much for the compliment. I appreciate it. Before I ask you my first question, hi Ian Culler. It's nice to see you. Incredible fantasy author. So you said that you created something with RDG Books Press that you hadn't seen or that you wanted to see in the industry. What exactly was that for you?
Well, I found that, especially for indie authors, but really for any author, you put your heart and soul into a work for anywhere from 6 months to 6 years, and that can vary even wider than that.
Mm-hmm.
And you put a lot of time and effort, you doubt yourself all along the way. And then when you finally get the courage to put your work out there to the world, rejection is the king of the hill, and judgment by those who honestly don't know enough to judge your work. That happens a lot. And popularity contest is a huge part of it. And it's so very, very difficult, not just with the big five, not just in traditional publishing. Across the board, it's so hard to get an honest, legitimate opportunity, a real start. And like I said, I've been in the business world for a long time. I love win-win situations. So I'm providing to authors a real, legitimate, serious opportunity to start their careers. And in turn, I'm introducing to the world, I'll bet you quite a number of writers who will be the stars of tomorrow, who will be the people that people talk about like they talk about Stephen King today. And my biggest goal in my endeavors is that after I'm gone, years beyond my life, RDG Books Press will still be providing the service, the care, the respect to authors that I'm trying to create now.
Mm.
And that's my biggest goal. I want it to be something that outlasts me.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome legacy, and I'm sure that you'll find somebody to take the reins for that one. So, so you said that there was obviously the issue of rejection, and that's going to be a natural part of the process, especially if you're trying to build something that is of quality that you truly believe these people that you're publishing are going to be, you know, huge in the future.
Mhm.
How do you tackle the process of having to reject people whilst
Mhm.
being cognizant of the fact that you probably don't like having to reject people because it's contributing to that negative experience that people have. So how do you manage stuff like that?
Well, I personally handle communication with our authors, at least at this time. I'm
Yeah,
terribly understaffed, so I handle a lot of things.
I get that.
I think a publishing house and even a professional editor, you really should have some experience as a writer. You
Mhm,
should know how it feels to be in the trenches.
mhm,
I do know how it feels. And I believe, not only in this industry, but in any industry, there's a certain amount of integrity, a certain way of doing business.
mm,
And in all communications with writers, employees, colleagues, everyone I deal with, I believe in dealing with people in a very professional manner.
mhm,
And you're right. I hate sending a rejection letter. Can't stand it.
mhm,
But I'm always honest and I'm always forthcoming with the authors.
mm,
I let them know that our acquisition team receives the story. They do not receive the author's name.
mhm,
The popularity on social media means nothing,
mhm,
not to this process.
mhm,
And I will not evaluate a story of any writer who is my friend or someone I know.
mhm,
It's not fair.
mhm.
Every writer deserves a fair chance.
Interesting. Okay.
And the thing that decides that is the quality of the story.
Mhm,
Is the writer, he doesn't have to be a professional editor, he doesn't have to be anything. The writer can be a plumber, but is he a good storyteller? Can
mm,
he get my attention and can he give me something that I want to turn the page? That's what we look for most of all.
mhm,
Now, of course, I publish primarily horror and fantasy. So we do like to see those genres. I mean,
mhm,
if it's been something completely outside of our field, well, the likelihood is that I don't know enough about it to make a determination, you
mm.
know.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
And if that's the case, I tell the writer so. So I might send a rejection letter that goes something like this. Our acquisition team has reviewed your story and found that it's not quite a fit for what we're looking for right now.
Mhm,
But what we have found is that you are very skilled with extreme. You have quite an ability in that. And while it doesn't quite fit my press, I recommend that you contact this press, and this press
oh,
because I think they would be starving for your story. It's a good story. It's
mhm,
just not a great fit for us right now. And
mhm,
by the way, once you've submitted a story to us, please feel free to submit another story another time. Once you say hello to RDG Books Press, you're part of RDG Books Press as long as you want to be.
mm,
No one gets sent away and no one gets condescending behavior or any of that. We respect our writers. The simple fact is, I don't have a business without my writers.
mhm,
And, you know, I don't want to go offline or off subject, but I recently made a financial decision that proves our writers are very important to us.
yeah, you increased the royalties, didn't you?
Yes, I increased the royalty by 50%. Tell
Mhm,
me another press that has done that.
mhm.
Um, I'm not trying to be an ass, but it's the truth.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
I will tell you the truth.
Mhm,
So any rejection letter that leaves my desk, it is with a great effort to be professional, to be honest,
mhm,
to be open and let the writer know where there may be a problem area,
mhm,
suggest how perhaps they could fix it. Or, like I said earlier, man, this would be a fantastic fit for that press.
mhm,
Here's the person you can contact. Here's what you need to do. Say hello to them. I think you'll have great success.
mhm,
But for the moment, where my press is right now, it's just not a good fit.
mhm.
So I make a very honest effort to give a very legit rejection letter, and even then, it still hurts. I hate
Yeah, I imagine.
it.
I imagine it does, and yeah, same here, Blake. I think it's good in terms of just concentrating on the quality of the story when you ask for anonymity for people's submissions. At what stage do you then? Is it after you say like, oh yeah, we'd love to publish your work? Who are you? Is that how that goes? At what
No,
point do you
not
find out
really.
you wrote it?
I have a team of readers that
Mhm,
give me a score, 5-star rating,
mhm.
and along with that, they share their thoughts about the story. Is
Okay.
it horror? Is it extreme horror? Is it well written? Does it appear to be properly edited? Does
Mhm,
it appear to be written by AI? All of
mhm.
these are things I need to know.
Yeah.
So my readers give me that information. I trust my readers
Mhm,
and I listen to what they say. And the first stage is that they will uh, go on to be shortlisted.
mhm,
If they're not rejected right there, they're going to go on to be shortlisted.
mhm.
And I get, sometimes a lot of submissions, and it's darkened their minds. In that project, I had nearly 300 submissions, and
Really?
I was working alone. So that was a bear.
Yeah.
In the current or most recent submission call, yeah, it's more like 60 to 75. It was a
Stop.
harder, yeah, it was a harder call, a
Mm,
harder thing to write, and hard to really seat
mhm,
what they write in that area and
mhm.
what my book can do. There's some things I simply won't publish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, we get that information, and I write to the writer and say, hey, you've been shortlisted.
Mhm,
Your story has made it past a lot of other stories, and we're heading in the right direction.
mhm.
The reason I do that is then I need the time to evaluate these stories and ratings that I got from the readers.
Mhm.
When you've got 300 submissions and 20 slots, I'm afraid you got to be pretty selective.
For sure. Yeah.
So I go through that very carefully, reread the stories. I personally read them at that point.
Mhm,
I don't make any determination of whether or not they're accepted. That's already done.
mhm.
Um, then I try to, for lack of a better way of putting it, I prioritize the stories, very best to weakest.
Mhm,
And then it's just a matter of how many slots we have available.
mhm.
Well, these guys are in. Please submit to us again. We love
Mhm,
your work. We just didn't have room for it in this project.
mhm.
And sometimes I'll say, can I hold this work
Mhm.
in the next project? And of
Yeah.
course, it's up to the author. I don't want to stand in their way of moving forward on their journey. I don't want to get in the way at all. My task is not to get in their way, but to help them along.
Mhm.
And so that's sort of the process. That's how we decide, who goes where in the system, you know.
Well, that's
And
pretty
once
personalized.
we,
Yeah.
once we get to that point, and I've made that selections, well, then at that point they get an email that says, "Hey, you're in.
Mhm.
You've been accepted. I'm now sending you a copy of our contract." I've written contracts all my life. It's extremely detailed. There's no vague information. There's
Mhm.
nothing missing. Uh, it's legit because I've
Mhm.
seen publishing contracts. There's no way on God's earth that I would sign them. Some writers send me contracts and ask me what I think, and I tell them the truth, you know. And I make sure I give a legit contract because
Mhm.
I'm also a writer. Would I sign this contract?
Yeah.
Very, very important question.
Mhm.
Once we're under contract, we go to work, whether that be a novel, novella, short story collection, anthology. Each one requires its own work.
Yeah.
Once we're under contract, we go to work. Uh, we're very exclusive. The writer really shouldn't take their work elsewhere once they've signed with us.
Mhm.
Until you sign a contract, do what you want. But once you sign, be committed to doing the work
Mhm.
because there will be work to do.
Mhm.
And so I try to communicate very well ahead of time because it's far better to get it right than it is to try to fix it later.
Mhm.
And then, so I hope that wasn't too long, but that's pretty much the process.
No, it's fascinating to me. I don't get many press owners on the show, so I'm like, yes, tell me all the information you have. We have a colleague of yours who's joined us. Hello, Aaron. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us today. Sarah had a question. So, in terms of reading, what is your favorite length of story to read? Short stories, novellas, novels? Do you have a preference?
Well, I have a personal preference and then I have a business preference.
Okay, tell me both.
Personally, I absolutely love short stories. I just really enjoy them. When they're well done, they are such a joy.
Mhm.
They really are. And so, from a personal answer, that would be it. From a business point of view, I firmly believe this. You'll have to check me in about 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
But I firmly believe the novella is the way to go. Everyone in every walk of life, no matter what your job is, your family size, your economy, everyone today is so blessed busy
Mhm.
that a 700 to 1,000 word novel is just not as desirable as it used to be.
Mhm.
But still, we love the craft of writing. We love reading amazing, imaginative stories.
Mhm.
We want to be able to visualize the setting. We want to know who the characters are. A well written novella can cover that very well.
Mhm.
And we can read, what's a novella length? Typically 100 to 300 pages. It'll fit there for pretty
Mhm.
much everybody. I think 300 is on the high side, but I'm just saying, I can't speak for every press. but, I love a novella for that reason. You can get all the joy out of it. If it's well written and well edited, you can enjoy it like you would a novel. And it's not going to take up as much of your time. Or even worse, with a 1,000-page novel, you get so wrapped up with the kids and the grocery shopping, and your job wants you to work overtime. It might be 3 weeks before you can go back and read the next chapter.
Mhm.
Some of us, me, are a little forgetful. It's really hard to follow a story if you can't stick with it very well.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, my professional answer is a novella.
Mhm.
Writers should strive to master that size, to put everything into it that they can.
Mhm.
And I believe the market overall, including the ginormous Amazon, in 3 to 5 years, the best selling books will be novellas.
Mhm.
And I'm a crackpot or a genius. I'll let you decide in 3 to 5 years.
Well, no, I love a novella, and it's something I'm pretty sure I had a conversation with Sarah about this, possibly even on her episode of Booked. Might have even been someone else. I'm pretty sure it was you, Sarah. That novellas are a really good way also of getting out of a reading slump, because if you're like slugging through a really, really long book, sometimes it feels good to finish something. So if you can, I can read a novella in a day or a night or whatever easily, especially if it's a really good one. And it feels like such a win. Yeah, I thought it was you, Sarah. It feels like such a win because you're like, oh, I can finish something. Because sometimes I find a much, much longer book, especially fiction, um, a bit of a trial to get through. And only really, for me as a reader, only like my favorite style of writers can help me through that with no problem. Like I've been reading, it's not indie, I've got to say it, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I haven't read long books, like books on the long side, like that so fast in years. It's been a long time since I found a really thick book that I've gone, I have to read this today. Because sometimes I'm like, yeah, I get the point of the story. I kind of want to know what happens, and sometimes it feels like a job. But oh, I love these books so much, and it's such a joy to find. But I do absolutely lean more towards the novella side of things. Anything over like 350 pages, it's got to be good. It's got to be really good for me to want to commit my time to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day. If you've got like, I don't know, I read for about 3 or 4 hours every night.
Mhm.
And that's probably more than the majority of people will read, but I have committed myself to reading something from everybody that I speak to, and that was a stupid choice. Because there are varying lengths. Sometimes they're 600 pages long, sometimes they're 100 pages long, and I can tell you which ones I prefer because then I get to actually finish them. But yeah, I proper love that series. I would implore anybody that loves video games or fantasy or swearing or silliness to read the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. That is the last time I'm going to mention a trad book today. You are a writer, and you obviously have your own style. Is there anything that you feel does influence you to choose work because it mirrors your style in any way? Or is that something that you have to keep separate for yourself?
Well, it's kind of the opposite, actually.
Okay.
Um, looking for comps is a good example.
Okay.
It's a very difficult thing to do.
Mm.
And when I went through that part of my journey, like every writer goes through, I found that I may not be in his league by any means, but my style is similar to Richard Lehman.
Mm.
And I say that because if you read a Richard Lehman book, you really don't need a PhD to read it.
Mm-hmm.
It chooses his wording very well for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And I like in Richard Lehman's work that he's not afraid of taboo subjects, and he'll go right up to the line of something. Well, I'm a horror writer. Of course, I'm going to try to grab.
You kind of have to be a little bit.
So I kind of akin my own writing toward sort of his style.
Okay.
Much closer than, say, Stephen King. Stephen
Mm-hmm.
King is very elaborate in his world building and his characterizations. He's got 100 characters in any given book.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a grander scale than I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a lot simpler than that. I'll be honest about it, But in the work, my style really means nothing.
Mm.
And, I'm not trying to present a bunch of little Rod Gilley clones. I would be out of business in a year or less. Who wants to read it? Quite frankly, not many people want to read Rod Gilley, let alone clones.
As long as you want to read it.
Yeah, well, I will say this: there's not I don't under, I'm working on marketing as much as anybody. That's the biggest puzzle any writer faces. All of the books that I've published get very good reviews, very decent ratings. People like them.
Mm-hmm.
But man, is it hard to get people to pick them up in the first place? It's really a difficult thing to do.
Yes.
And I've had very pleasant feedback. I've had very helpful feedback on my own personal writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy with it. I honestly am, but there will never be a rainbow as a perfect example. There's 10 stories in that collection of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And people like Aaron Hook and a few others have actually reviewed the individual stories.
Oh, wow.
That's a reviewer.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
That's for me, but for them to do that. And these stories get very good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to, even then, like Saffron, you could say, that's the best book I ever read. How many people in the audience will go out and buy it today? It really doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't want to create little Rod Gilley clones. I want to make sure, and one of the big rules in our business, the first step in editing that I bring an editor into this company, the first thing they'll do is the line editing. Okay, because developmental editing is far more advanced and much harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
Line editing is not quite so bad. And in the instructions of the line editing, it is stated, with all the care that you can, protect the author's voice.
Mm-hmm.
This is the author's story, not yours, not mine. It is their story.
Mm-hmm.
And a writer in Australia or Ireland or England or New Jersey, each one's going to have their own voice and their own way of seeing the world. You've really got to protect that.
Mm-hmm.
As an editor, you've got to protect that. And so that kind of plays into what you said.
Yeah, for sure.
My style means nothing. I want to protect the style of the author. I want to make sure we present that author's work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, in editing, we are going to fix the story. If it's a short story, we do a line edit. Basically, we may switch around some sentence structure or change a given word, or mostly like the punctuation stuff.
Yeah.
If it's on a novella or a novel, we're into much bigger things. That starts with a developmental edit.
Mm-hmm.
I am all about collaboration. So I do a developmental review. I get my thoughts together. I share those thoughts with the writer.
Mm-hmm.
That that begins a process where we communicate and we work back and forth. And sometimes the writer will give in. Sometimes I will give in. We're not competing with each other. The writer's not my boss. I'm not the writer's boss. We're a team. We have to work that way. It's in the contract that it is a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And when you collaborate to that level, you bring out the best in both people. Because an editor knows the rules, just like an accountant knows numbers.
Mm-hmm.
However, an editor has to have a certain amount of creativity too.
For sure.
And then the writer may or may not be a little light on rules. But let's be honest, it's their heart and their mind and their creativity that created the story in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Better to listen to than the writer themselves. You know, I can read a manuscript and maybe miss a huge part of what that's about. Well, I'd be an idiot not to contact the writer and say, hey, you know, what's your goal right here? What are you really trying to get across?
Mm-hmm.
So that I can help you get it across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not doing anything wrong. I just want to help you maybe do it just a tad better.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the writer and the editor, the primary goal should always be to make the story the absolute best that it can be. Now, that doesn't mean perfection. An editor can make a mistake. A writer can refuse to make a correction. I've had writers that 8th grade English knows that's wrong. That writer says, right or wrong, I want that to stick. You're the writer. You
Fair
know,
enough.
you're not shooting your foot off and completely destroying the project, which is in developmental editing. You
Mhm.
can destroy a project there. In line editing, yeah, we might lose a star. Okay. You know,
Yeah.
you win, not a problem. You know, there's no ego in this work. There's just collaboration and respect.
Mhm.
You've got to have both. If I treat a writer disrespectfully, that writer will say goodbye. That writer will get on social media and tell them what happened. That
Mhm.
writer will damage my career. And that writer will be right to do it. He'll be correct to do that because I shouldn't be an asshole to begin with. You know, I've got to show that writer the same respect I want him to show me.
Mhm.
You know, so that's why I use the word collaboration so very much because it is throughout my company on every level. It is a way of doing business. You
Well,
know,
that's the thing. It's in both of your best interests to do well and for this product, because it's a product. Let's not pretend like it's not. For this
yeah.
product to do well, so that when you sell that product as a business,
Mhm.
for it to be a positive experience for readers and for everybody involved. So it makes sense to have a collaborative approach to things. So,
Mhm.
in terms of the rigidity of your editing process, do you have a set formula where you say, okay, so we go through this process? So, for example, we do a line edit, goes back to the writer, they make the changes, developmental edit, there's a bit of back and forth, and then it's ready. Do you say, like, it's touched by either an editor or a writer X amount of times and then we just go with it? Or is it just it keeps going and going and going and going until you're happy as the press owner for it to go out there?
Well, I believe in giving the story whatever it needs.
Okay.
I've had stories uh, with authors I've worked with that came to me pretty clean.
Mm.
You know, it had a few rounds of editing. They were pretty clean stories. The story was exceptional,
Yeah.
uh, outstanding work, and the editing was pretty smooth. And then
Mhm.
I've had stories. I won't call anybody out, but I've seen this many times. AI writes garbage, and I just want to leave it there. But when every single paragraph in a novel needs to be edited, and the word "the" is shown 4 times in a row in a sentence,
Mhm.
it's a little aggravating. I
Yes.
work pretty hard, and I don't want to deal with this garbage. Don't send me garbage,
Mhm.
you know. And I'll let it go. I'm trying not to be Rod. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Uh, but we do have a structure, and honestly, when I hire editors, part of it is, let's say I'm in a hiring phase of hiring experienced
Mhm.
editors because I hire both. I'll hire an experienced editor and I'll hire somebody that's never done a single editing job.
Mhm.
On this hand, I have to train them to a degree, a much smaller degree. I need to train the experienced editor because if you give your story to 5 different editors, you'll get 5 different edits.
Mm-hmm.
Every editor has their own approach and their own way of seeing things. So you really got to find a good match as a writer to
Mm-hmm.
begin with, because you absolutely have to have trust between the writer and the editor. That's
Mm-hmm.
a paramount thing. Okay, because especially in developmental editing, your editor may ask you to do things you would not believe, but it will make your story the very best it can be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I have a process. Let's work with a novella or a novel. The process is it goes through acquisitions and it's accepted, contract signed, we're ready to go to work. Now, in our company, the way we do that is the editor will take on the job. The first thing the editor will do is divide it by the number of pieces or parts that was agreed upon.
Mm-hmm.
And most times that's four parts. So we'll divide that story into four parts. Now, we do the editing in parts
Okay.
because let's say I did a developmental edit on the first part of your novel. While you're reviewing that, looking it over, understanding it, and deciding what you want to do with it, I'm already working on part two. So
Mm-hmm.
we're saving a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
by having that functionality.
That's a good idea.
And we're avoiding a horrible mistake,
Mm-hmm.
which I will say this all of my life. Rush equals mess every time without exception.
Mm-hmm.
No writer is so great that they can rush through it and get it done right. No,
Yeah.
I don't care who he is, you know. And really, no writer really is successful without a solid editor.
I totally
In
agree.
some cases, they have a whole staff of editors because
Mm-hmm.
they can afford to. I won't name anybody, but if you know their name, you can bet they've got editors that know what they're doing.
Yeah,
You
right.
know? So the story gets divided into parts, and the first thing in a novella or a novel is developmental edit. We do
Mm-hmm.
a developmental review so that the editor fully understands what that story is. And I think of the whole story as an ocean, and the scenes of the story are the waves. The waves have to interact and work with each other to create the overall.
Mm-hmm.
So the editor must look at the scenes of the story very specifically. So they go down through it and they review it all. Then, if you did the process the way that I teach people to do it,
Mm-hmm.
now you can sit back and see the story. Now you can actually follow the story through the process without reading the actual individual words.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And when you look at the story for real, you're going to see things like duplicated scenes. That happens a lot. You're going to see things where there's something in there that just doesn't fit. It just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. It isn't part of this story at all. Why is it in there? And a good editor is going to see, oh my, there's a whole scene, maybe three scenes that are completely missing. If you go
Mm-hmm.
from this scene to this scene, why? If you put in these three scenes, oh my God, you just stepped up the quality of the story by a huge percentage.
Mm-hmm.
It's the editor's job to be able to see what's not there as well as what is there.
Yeah.
Then it is very important, big part of the editor's job is to communicate clearly and professionally with the author, to
Mm-hmm.
give the author our suggestions. And they are suggestions. They are not the demands, they are not rules. We're simply suggesting, hey, author, would you be willing to take a look at this? This is why I'm asking you to take a look at this. This is what I think the benefit will be.
Mm-hmm.
All the time you want to look that over, think about it, and decide what you would like to do. And get back with me, and we'll move forward from there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that's developmental editing.
Yeah.
Once developmental editing is done, and it's done when both the writer and the editor feel it's the very absolute best that it can be.
Mm-hmm.
The last step in that process, the writer does a complete read through of it at their leisure, and they take as long as they want to. I
Okay.
don't want anybody to do anything. And when that writer comes back and says, I love it, it's freaking awesome, the editor can also say, it is awesome. We're ready to move on to the next step. If we don't say it's awesome, we miss something. We need to go back and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It is imperative to me that the books we produce are as absolute best they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Perfection is not really possible, but by golly, we try.
Mm-hmm.
I had a published book all set up. It was online. I pulled that book to fix one letter, so I am a stickler about that.
Mhm.
25 years in accounting, I am a stickler for where that little dot is at. You know?
I can't imagine. Who was it that said the other day? It was a fantastic idea. I can't remember who gave this advice. Maybe Ellie Bendon. I can't remember. Anyway, somebody said recently that, was it this week? I don't know. Somebody will tell me in a minute when I finally say what I'm going to say. That if you release the ebook first, then it gives you the opportunity for people to tell you where the mistakes are, and then you can fix them. It was Molly Blake. It's Molly Blake.
Wow.
Uh, it will give you the opportunity to fix stuff, and then go to the paperbacks and the hardcovers, because then you don't have books floating out there that have mistakes. I don't necessarily disagree with that as a method. I think that's quite a good idea, because people can miss stuff, especially if you're reading it over and over and over again. Like I sent off. I've told the story before. I sent off Blackout to somebody, just the first few chapters, and I had missed a sentence that said she screamed at the top of her lunch. I totally missed it. It was the wrong word, and I just read that over and over again and said that was fine. So it's very easy, especially when you're all humans involved in the process. Humans can make mistakes, and sometimes there are issues like with spelling mistakes or a little bit of sentence structure. But if the story's good enough and the rest of it is great, I can overlook stuff like that. I don't know about you, but as a press owner, you're going to be a lot more stringent about what you let through the gates. Do you read the final copy?
Yes, I read every manuscript. I know I read them at least 10 times.
Hmm.
My process doesn't require a gazillion rounds of editing
Yeah.
because you can literally edit too much. You really
Hmm.
can.
Yes.
Revision, same thing. You can do it too much. What
Mm.
happens is if you do it enough and you do it enough times, there's a transitional period where now you're changing things for the sake of change. You're not actually making them any better. You're just
Hmm.
changing. You don't want to go there. You could
Mm.
do that forever. I've known writers on their, I don't know, 25th revision round. It's ridiculous. There's no reason to ever do that. You know, I agree to a point with that, what that was said a minute ago, but I say it all the time, and I don't know who wants to hear it. But any established writer with any kind of history, and I believe any legitimate publishing house will tell you this,
Mm.
there's certain steps that are the basic steps that a writer should follow.
Hmm.
That's it. You know, you want to be a rebel, but if you want to do it right, there are certain steps that are
Yeah.
highly recommended.
Hmm.
And you write your story. You put your heart and your soul into it. And I experienced this myself with my own writing.
Hmm.
Well, you love it so much you can't see its flaws. You
Yeah.
can't see the mistakes that are in it. You've absolutely got to have other eyes look at your work.
Mm.
Now, what I recommend is you finish writing your story. Don't edit it while you're writing. I know there's people that disagree with that, but the simple fact is it's two different parts of your brain.
Hmm.
Writing is creative. Editing is more like accounting. It's following the rules and correcting things.
Hmm.
You know, completely different thing. If you really want to write your best, write your story. Once you've got it written, the next step that I do recommend very much is find some good beta readers.
Hmm.
Don't pay for beta readers. That's you're paying for a service. They're going to provide the service. That's nowhere near as someone who loves to read in your genre and they read your story. Way
Yeah.
better, way better. But these beta readers are very valuable because what they should be doing is telling you how they react
Mm.
to your story. Now, a bad beta reader is going to try to edit your story. There's a mile between an editor and a beta reader. They're
Hmm.
not the same thing,
Hmm.
you know. But a good beta reader is going to give you feedback. How do you feel about this character? What do you think about this setting? Did you find the books to be enjoyable? Fantastic information for a writer. You need to know this stuff.
Hmm.
And what I recommend is to get 3 to 5 good beta readers. And when you get their feedback, you're going to get all sorts of different kinds of feedback.
Hmm.
Look for the areas where they overlap. 3 out of 5 have picked out chapter 4, scene 3. 3 out of 5. Maybe I need to really look at that and see what's up.
Hmm.
That's where you want to focus. That's the problem areas. So you want to go in there and see what you can do about those problems and try to fix them.
Mhm.
Now, once you've done that, you want to do a self edit. You do not have to be a professional editor. You do not have to swallow a dictionary. I've actually known editors that they must have had the Chicago Manual of Style tattooed on the inside of their forehead. They knew that book cover to cover, and that's a hell of a book.
I thought you were going to say that you've known editors that have literally eaten a dictionary, and I thought, oh, here we go. That's going to be a whole other thing. I'm a little bit
But,
disappointed now, if I'm going to be honest.
but you can actually take it way too far. You can erase the author's voice. You can destroy the storyline.
Mhm.
It is such a thing as going too far.
Mhm.
So, especially as a writer, just do a nice, simple high school level self edit. Get it nice and clean, as best you can. No editor is going to expect more than that, you know. Then I strongly, strongly recommend don't screw around with the programs much. I'm not going to name them. There's 4 or 5 that are pretty big, not counting AI, because I've used all these programs. You put exactly the same information in all of them, you'll get different advice on every one of them.
Mhm.
And it's just for a writer, it's like, what do I do? You know, don't fool with that.
Mhm.
And then if you know my name, I don't dig AI. I'll leave it at that.
Mhm.
Find yourself a decent editor, and that's not an easy thing to do. You know, to edit a novel can cost you $2,000 if you break it down into the 3 parts and pay each specialist what they're getting nowadays. They'll tell you 3 cents a word. That means nothing until you multiply it by 80,000 words.
Mhm.
Then we're talking about a big ass chunk of change. And then you got to do it with the other 2 branches of the editing.
Mhm.
It can add up really bad. It really can. And a
Mhm.
lot of writers, they're creatives. Not everybody, but a lot of them are creatives, not business people.
Mhm.
And they don't realize that you need to keep track of your expenses.
Mhm.
Between the editing and the cover and marketing, if you spend $5,000 on your book and you sell it for $12 and your royalty share is a couple of bucks, how many books do you need to sell to break even? And it's very likely, even in the big 5, you're never going to break even,
Mhm.
you know? So we do need to control our costs. So you have a very challenging thing to do at this stage. The best place to look is your colleagues, fellow
Mhm.
writers, writers you respect, writers you've read that you think, wow, this is a good book. Ask them, hey, can you recommend an editor? You know,
Mhm.
that's a good place to start. Any editor worth a dime is not going to charge you anything up front. Any editor worth a dime has plenty of testimonials and writers that you can contact and get their feedback on this editor's approach and skills. On my editing website, I've got a whole page dedicated to testimonials from the writers I've worked with. You
Mhm.
know, you've got to have that. Basically, what I'm saying is you've got to find something that's kind of hard to find today, and that is a legitimate editor.
Especially,
Keyword legitimate.
especially with being on social media, because you're going to get ransacked otherwise.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's well meaning writers, there's well meaning readers.
Mhm.
There's even well meaning editors that really are not, have not trained well enough to really be doing it. And
Mhm.
I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone, but there is a certain level you should reach, you
Yeah.
know. Then there's also blatant crooks, liars, and thieves. And there's plenty of them assholes out there. I know several writers who got robbed blind, paid a fortune for editing that never got done,
Awful.
was done with a crayon by a complete drunk. Horrible, terrible nightmares, as if writers don't have it hard enough to begin with.
Oh my god, tell me about it. This whole experience with dealing with, I mean, in the like kindest, nicest way, dealing with like the community in general and trying to navigate it and figure out where I sit in it. I've always been very much like, you approach me if you want me to help you with anything. I can't bring myself to approach people because you should be able to. I should be able to approach somebody and be like, hey, I'd like to help you with XYZ, and it be a totally fine operation. However, you can't. You can't just approach people anymore because they just assume that you're going to screw them over or whatever. But I've recently um, I've been trying this thing where I say, hypothetically, if I were to ask you this question, what would be your response? Rather than me just straight up saying something to people, because I'm so scared that they're going to go, oh, God, you're a scammer. But it's so hard to navigate. It really is. And whenever people, I'll tell you what really winds me up, what grinds my gears. It's two things. First thing is when people immediately send me a message promoting their book. That is not good form, and that's a terrible, terrible marketing strategy, and you should stop doing that if you do that, unless you know the person. I think that is a shitty thing to do. And the second thing is, if you ask, I ask for recommendations sometimes, and I'm more than happy for people to self-recommend stuff. I love Sarah is such a dick. Paisley is my dog. We're in a different country. I just like to point that out.
You scoundrel, Saffron.
I am too honest for my own good. I couldn't possibly scam people. I'm also very disorganized, so I don't think I could successfully do a scam. Maybe that's what a scammer would say. But yeah, I'm more than happy for people to self-recommend their books to me. I want to hear about your awesome book. But if I ask for a disgusting horror book and you promote something that is the complete opposite than that, I find that terribly irritating. And again, it's not good marketing. If you do stuff blindly, and I get it, I totally get it. I'm not a marketing expert. I can't even say it. And I don't really know anything. But what I can tell you is that there are some behaviors that I see that is it's such a turn off for a book. And it's one thing like seeing people's book covers again and again, and I'm like, okay, now I'm intrigued because I've seen it again and again. But it's usually been from people leaving reviews, which I know is really hard to get, or other people sharing your work, which is helpful if you're able to build that kind of community. But if you're constantly just spamming your link to people's comments all the time, it loses its magic. It doesn't, you just become blind to it because you're like, oh, it's that idiot again. Not idiot, that's a horrible word to say, but it was annoying me, so I said idiot. People aren't idiots, that's a horrible word. But I just find it irritating. I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but one of the hardest things to do, as you and I have talked about before, is market your work. And do you know what the best thing that I think people can do is just be honest and passionate about what you're doing. Because if you are like, I truly, truly believe in this book, and this is why I believe in this book, and you try and make genuine human connections with people, that works. But if you are just closing your eyes and clicking a button and hoping that somebody's going to see your work, it's just not how it works. It doesn't work like that.
A very, very excellent writer who is really rising fast in the writing world is Janelle Sheehy.
Oh, she's amazing. If you're watching this, Janelle, I love you. Yeah,
she often gives the advice, be genuine, be who you are, and don't try to play games with people because they'll see right through it. Now, that's not her exact wording, but that's pretty much what I think she says. And I totally agree with Janelle, completely agree. Now, for my part, I'm all the major social media, and I try to make that the 4 divisions in my business are present. They do exist. They are here for you if you want them. I also try to make it known that I'm there, that I'm a writer, editor, and I'm a publisher. I've gained quite a bit of experience and knowledge. I still know about 1% of everything there is to know. Nobody's ever going to know everything, but I'm pretty smart, and more importantly, I'm absolutely honest. So if a writer comes on Twitter or any of the sites and says, hey, Rod, how do you approach this? What do you think I should do with that? Whatever their question may be, they will get a legitimate, honest answer from me. They won't get bullshit. They'll get a straight up, honest answer. And if I don't know, I'll say I don't know, and I'll do the research to find out, and I'll come back to that writer and let them know what I found. I'm on social media to be helpful, to help writers in the same way that I own my press. When I first got involved in all of this, you wouldn't believe the nightmare. I actually started out a novelist, started writing a novel. And I got on social media and I listened to all these experts. And I'm going to make a long story short and say that novel is 125 scenes that are those little blocks with letters that you give to babies, to your kids. You take those little blocks, each one is a scene, throw it in a pillowcase, shake the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that novel is right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll revisit it one day, but it's entirely there because I listened to too much crap. I didn't know any better. It's entirely my own fault. But
Yeah.
like every writer, we don't know. And you've got so many well-meaning people that really shouldn't be talking, or you've got these crooked bastards that want to rob you blind and sell a product or whatever the hell they're trying to do. If they put as much work in legitimate business, they probably have far more success than they're having in their scams.
I know. Oh, tell me about it. It's such a waste to see people trying to take advantage of others when that energy could be better spent, to be honest. There are two very obscure questions. Well, no, there's one obscure question and one quickfire question from Sarah that I'm going to share with you. The first one is, what is your favourite word and what is your least favourite word?
That's
there are
tough.
a lot to choose from. You
Yeah,
can think
there's a
about
lot
that.
of words. I think my least favorite word, because it's one of the things I like the least in the world, I have no time for whatsoever, is arrogance.
Oh.
I don't like arrogance at all. I don't like when a writer, editor, publisher, or anybody else for that matter looks down their nose at you and tries to convince you that you are less
Mm-hmm.
than what you are. I despise people like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked in factories when I was young, and I worked alongside people that have master's degrees. Life throws whatever it wants to at you, and you do what you can to survive. You're not less because you're working in a factory.
Mm-hmm.
You're not more because you have a master's degree. We're all human beings. We're all trying to get by from one day to the next and make the best life we can.
Mm-hmm.
I despise arrogant people. I have no time for them whatsoever. So that's the word I hate the least.
Okay.
I guess my favorite word, it would be a tie. I'm very happily married, so love is a wonderful word.
Oh, that's nice.
And another word I've got to say I love, human.
Oh, that's
Human.
nice.
We should be a worldwide population called the human race. And I absolutely adore human creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the magic powers we have that sets us apart from anything else on this planet. I love human creativity. So I guess I'll go with human and love. What's your two favorite, or your favorite and your least favorite words, Saffron?
Oh God, my favourite word is the C word, which I won't say out loud. It's not a family-friendly show, but I'll just be conscious of that because it's so divisive, and I love a divisive word. And my least favourite word is chunk. I don't like because it makes me think of vomit, and anything that's like a vomity word, I can't cope with it. And oh, Jose is here. Hello.
Mhm.
He did say you make a great point, but that was a while ago, and I don't know what point that was. So he's agreeing with you on something. I'm so sorry, Jose. I didn't see that until now. And a question that may need translation. What is your favorite flavor of American chip butty? So a chip being okay. Let me break it down. So we eat crisp sandwiches or crisp butties, which are the Brits call chips, crisps, but we call fries chips. So we put crisps, which are your chips, in a sandwich. So if you were going to put crisps in a sandwich, what would you put in there? What flavor?
I'm a little boring man. I don't really dig a whole bunch of different flavors. I would try to get a quality chip and put it on a sandwich.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was a huge thing. I don't think the brand exists anymore, but it was a wonderful thing in my childhood to have a bologna sandwich on white bread with Husman's potato chips crunched on top.
Oh, nice.
God, that was a good sandwich. You know,
Jazzing it up with a bologna.
can of Pringles from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're tasty little chips.
Mm-hmm.
But I tend, like for example, I love a very good, high quality plain cheesecake. You don't have to put all that other stuff on it. If it's a good cheesecake, enjoy the cheesecake. You know,
Okay.
like with a steak, if you don't have to put a one sauce or a thousand, if you have to cover it up with a bunch of stuff, it's not a very good steak. You know.
I will say I'm going to fight for garlic butter because I feel like that's an enhancement. I just Honestly, there was a restaurant that I used to work at back in the day, and so I was a chef for years, and it was a chain restaurant, so it wasn't like actual cooking. Um, but with our steaks, we used to give an option for a lobster and dill butter. And I've never had an experience that matches how delicious that is poured all over fries. Because I can't find it anywhere. Because I'm certain that a lobster went nowhere near that butter, but it tasted delicious. And it used to come in these like little pucks of butter, and I would just put a ton of those in a ramekin and heat it up and just pour it all over chips. I used to be a lot fatter than I am now. Although I do from time to time still pour butter on things. Thank you, Sarah, for those questions. Not that anyone asked. My favourite it has to be a crunchy roll or a baguette, really crunchy baguette, preferably something from Europe because I've got to be honest, the bread here sucks. And from my experience anyway. And I like a really harsh salt and vinegar because apparently I like to feel like the inside of my mouth has been lacerated when I eat chips. So that's my favorite. I like it when it kind of burns a little bit afterwards. That's fine. I love crisps. I love chips. They're one of my favorite things. I love a crunchy food. I don't like squidgy food that much. I love a crunchy food. And sometimes when I'm trying to concentrate on stuff, I have to have a bowl of something crunchy next to me. Otherwise, I can't focus. And then I'll just shovel crunchy stuff into my mouth. If my best friend is watching this, she does exactly the same thing. I don't know what's wrong with us, but I love it. So there's something that I wanted to cover before we wind the episode down because I think it's really important. And this is some huge news that you released at the end of last year. Or it might have been the beginning of this year. I think it's the end of last year. That RDG Books Press has expanded across the ocean, which is very exciting. So could you tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to do that? And I've got a couple of follow-up questions if you don't answer them already.
Okay. Well, as you know, RDG Books Press is based in America, and it's my primary division. RDG Books Full Service Editing is the oldest division because I was editing before I became a publisher. Your Art is the newest, providing professional human art to indie authors and authors who want to publish elsewhere. We already provide that to our own artists, to our own audience. Well, I am so excited to say that Aaron Hook, well-known booktuber, very respected gentleman, came on as our COO. He came on as our COO of UK operations. And the reason we felt it was worthwhile and valuable to actually put a real publishing house in England was because, A, the books we published, UK readers have been so supportive and so welcoming to read our stories and to get to know our authors. It is also, they've been very welcoming to my press. In addition to that, some of the best writers I've read in recent years amazed me with their amazing writing skills. There are real writers in the UK. First comes to mind Steve Stark.
He is so good. He is so good. I'm interviewing him.
That is amazing work. I love Steve's work.
He's fabulous.
And these writers have communicated with me. Some have worked with my press. And they've always been, I think this is a UK thing. They've always been very professional, very friendly, just excellent people to work with, really, truly. And, here I am, I'm building this publishing house. I would be a damn fool to ignore some of the greatest, most wonderful people I could possibly work with. So with Aaron's help, we are opening everything that we do in RDG Books Press. We're giving all the same opportunities to writers in the UK. And we're going to make sure that these authors have a voice and have that first true, legitimate chance to get their careers going. And even with writers who are already, pretty well established, they can learn a lot from our processes. They can improve their own works, and they can expand to our audience, and it's a win-win for both sides. And Aaron is an exceptional person to fully run the UK operation. He is so well read, such an understanding of literature. He's very well respected on the YouTube community.
Hmm.
It's an absolute blessing to me to have a man of that caliber join my company. Uh, Absolute thrill. So
Oh,
yeah, we love the UK. I like to think the UK loves us. I hope America and the UK are still friends. That changes monthly with politics, and I
they are
hate
at the moment. I don't know how.
that. But every single person, every writer I've worked with, Mark T. Bates, the author of The Curse of
Oh,
Six.
he's lovely.
Oh, he's an incredible and very intelligent man,
Mhm.
very well read, exceptional writer. I love The Curse of Six. It's
I
the
started
best
reading
book
it. It's
I
fab.
published, you know. And out
Yeah,
of all five books, it's the bestseller, and more than 60% of all sales have come from the UK. I
that's
mean, you
fantastic.
know, the UK is a fabulous place. They actually have people who not only know how to read, but they enjoy reading. That's not
There
always
are
true in
lots
the
in
United
America
States.
as well.
That's not always true in the United States.
I do think the Brits do love a horror. We love a horror book.
Mhm.
It's a good
Yeah,
distraction
you're originally
from
from
being
somewhere in the
alive.
UK, right?
Well, sorry.
Prior to being married, you're actually from somewhere in the UK, right?
Yeah, I'm from the southeast of the UK. Yeah, I live in Texas, but I'm from England. Uh, I am British and will always be British. I just live in a different country. Um, Aaron says, "Thanks, Rod. It's a great honour that you have put your trust in me. That's lovely. Aw. I'm sensing a bromance, and I kind of love that."
I have a huge amount of respect for Aaron, and I do think of him as a friend. He matters to me. He's a
Good.
very decent guy. He really is.
So, how did you guys meet? And that sounds like I'm asking you when you started dating. So how did you guys like connect, and how did the whole conversation start? Because that's a huge thing to put trust
Mhm.
in. Although you're friends, to put trust in essentially a stranger in a different country to take on quite a significant advancement in your company. Like, how did that escalate?
I actually think it began with me pestering Aaron.
Oh,
Uh,
did you
I,
make the first move?
oh, I think so. I saw his wonderful show on YouTube. Aaron's got a fantastic booktube channel where he interviews authors and he does excellent reviews of stories. I mean, he had this before he ever met me. I mean, Aaron has it going on in his own right. He really does. And well, a couple of 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that,
Mhm.
I had published my first little book just to show myself that I could. And my little book had three short stories in it. And I so wanted the world to read my little book. So I drove Aaron nuts to read my book and review it. And he was kind enough that he did individual reviews of each of the stories
That's
on
cool.
his show. And I was so impressed that he would do that for a nobody in Kentucky that he's never heard of, you know, and he would go that extra mile to help a fellow writer, you
Mhm.
know, to do something so worthwhile. And I thought, man, there's a decent guy. I want to know better. So I've been pestering him ever since.
Oh, that's nice. Sometimes it happens like that. Oh, that's cool. I'm glad that you've been able to find each other, and I really hope that it goes super well for you because it's exciting when you get the opportunity to expand a business, and it's exciting when you get the opportunity to tap into another market, and it's really cool that you've been able to identify the pattern that's led you to this point. Um, so yeah, that's all very exciting, and I hope it goes super well for you. I know that you have a separate website for RDG Books Press UK, but I think it's attached to your website, your US website. Is that right?
RDG Books United Kingdom has its own website,
Hmm.
and you can find links on any of my websites
Hmm.
that will link you to all four divisions of my business.
Okay.
RDG Books United Kingdom is a division of RDG Books Press,
Hmm.
but it is a, how can I put it? It's a mirror image of the press that is operated on its own, and Aaron is king of the hill.
Hmm.
I'm here to support him, help
Hmm.
him along the way, teach him what I can, learn from him what I can. But that is Aaron's show.
Hmm.
And I have absolute faith in his ability. And a writer in England Ireland, Scotland, wants a straight up deal from a straight up guy that can speak their language and understands their market, that's Aaron.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well, for anyone that is watching the recording of this, I have put the link for RDG Books Press. Friggin' hell, that's hard to say. In the description of this episode, but you can also head over to Rod's Twitter, I think, and I think you have the link for it there. And yeah, go check out all of this awesome stuff that's going on. It's nice to see small businesses grow, and it sounds like you're moving in the absolute right direction. Before we end the show, I want to give anybody that's watching the opportunity to ask any questions, so do pop them in the chat. Is there anything that you wanted to tell our listeners and our watchers, lurkers, whoever's here or whoever's watching the recording? Is there anything that you wanted to say before we part ways?
two things.
Okay.
I'm mostly on Twitter. I enjoy that. It reminds me of AOL's chat rooms. I love direct conversations with writers. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and I'm kind of across the board, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to say, for what it's worth, I don't know everything, and there's plenty of people that know more than I do, but I'm there. Feel free to approach me on any site, ask me any question, and you can count on me to give you a straight, honest answer, and I'll try to help a fellow writer in any way that I can. And most of the writers that I know, they would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic community. It really is.
Yeah.
The second thing I want to say directly to writers, be they in the UK, in the United States, in Australia, anywhere in the world, it is a long, hard road to really be a writer. There's an awful lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't easy. Don't take the easy path. Don't ask the Tin Man to do it for you. Don't take ridiculous shortcuts that hurt your work and hurt your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Put in the time, put in the effort. If you love what you're doing, then give it all your love. And seriously, you'll be tempted. I've been tempted. You might want to give up once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Give up, no matter what it throws at you. Like Stephen King and his Bigger Nil. I don't give a damn how many rejections you get. None of them will matter when you get accepted. You know, don't give up. If you love being a writer, then be a writer. And don't let nobody tell you any different. You're a writer the moment you mean it and you write your first paragraph, you are now a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you don't go beyond that first paragraph, your career's over. That's your choice. Every writer has their own path.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend to all writers, because it is such a long and hard road, join with other writers. Get to know the Dark Veil Society. I don't know a whole lot about them, but these are writers who support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Skilled, really great craftsmen, fantastic authors. You know, Molly McCobb, Steve Stark. There's so many. S.S. Fitzgerald. There's oh man, these are some fantastic writers. And the whole idea of this club is they say, hey, I don't want to be all alone in this. Let's be pals. And that's basically what they are. They're friends that help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to other writers. Get to know other writers. They'll help you along. Don't follow every piece of advice that's given to you. Of course, some of it's not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
But get involved. One of the worst things about being a writer is we find ourselves alone with our computers 20 hours a day or whatever. You know,
at least
we need to be a part of a writing community. We need to feel that we're a part of it, you know, because that enriches us. And not only that, every conversation. Saffron, I could spend another half hour just explaining things I've learned from you during our conversations. You know, you can learn so much by interacting with these brilliant writers. You know, and the indie community is not what it used to be. We got some damn good writers in the indie community.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. And they can compete with anybody, you know. And if you get a chance, I mean, I cherish any moment that I can go on Twitter and say, hi, Molly. Hi, Steve. How you doing? What do you think of this? And you know what? Every one of them have been kind enough to respond. Maybe not that second. People are busy. But they always get back to me and they share their honest thoughts. They're so friendly and helpful. Get to know writers in your genre, out of your genre, but be involved. Because if you're alone at a computer and that's it, you're actually cheating yourself out of so much of the experience of being a writer.
Yeah.
So you'll never give up and try to be a part of the game. We're in this wonderful game. Let's enjoy it. So
Yeah.
Chatter, 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 chatter. That's me. But
No,
I didn't have the answer.
it's good advice, and I think there are people who have found their people already in the community. I feel like I'm one of them, and everybody that I talk to on a regular basis, or even that I've just had fleeting conversations with, have been excellent and kind. And I find that there are those who don't like the writing community, well within their rights to feel like that, because it's not nice to feel excluded or feel like an outsider or whatever it is. But it might be that you're talking to the wrong people. If you are finding that people are spiteful or mean or not helpful, you're talking to the wrong people, because there are good people out there. And it's really hard. And please remember this. If you exist online, my dog is like heavy breathing over there. That's not me. If you could hear a weird noise, that's her. She keeps making strange noises. I was going somewhere with this. Hang on. That was really distracting.
It's
When you
not
exist
saffron.
online,
It's not saffron. It's not.
I'm going to start this again. When you exist online, you must remember that even the smallest interaction that you make will totally shape what you see. So if you accidentally get caught looking at political stuff, or people arguing with each other, or even if you linger on it for just a couple of moments, that will shape your experience online. Sometimes you have to seek out these people, the good people. And if you're finding yourself surrounded with people that are very negative or that are not helpful or don't help you to grow, it doesn't mean that the good people don't exist. So try and look for them, and try and reshape your algorithm, because unfortunately that's something that we live in these days. We live in whatever algorithm we have, like Google search images. Google searches, not search images. They are shaped to what you want to look at. So if I search for something and then you search for something, Rod, we're going to get different results. So be really mindful about what you interact with online, because that will determine whether or not you create a good community around you, especially on social media. That is a much bigger conversation than I'm willing to give it today, because I know that it can be boring for some people. But just don't forget that there are good people out there, basically, is what I'm trying to say, because they're here. There's a ton of them here already today watching this. So, yeah.
I'd like to add to what you said. First of all, audience, she just gave you some golden advice, because she's absolutely right. When I got on the Twitter, I had it in my mind that everything I would do would be book related.
Mm-hmm.
I do everything I can to avoid politics, because I don't dig politics at all. And there's a few other subjects I won't mess with either. But if you do that, if you focus your efforts on whatever your interests are, Saffron's right. You will see over time, it'll pick up on it, and that's what you'll see. If I went to Twitter right now and pulled up my account, out of the first 30 posts I see, 26 will be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because since day one, I've tried to stay focused on what I'm there for in the first place. I'm a writer, an editor, and I'm a publisher. I want to talk books. You know, I don't really have any interest in what this politician's doing. That doesn't interest me at all. You know, I will add one more thing, because Saffron was so right in saying it. Find your people. And this ain't just in the writing world. This is business 101.
Life.
Life 101. You know, there's always going to be these people that hold you back. You know, there's always going to be these people that are encouraging you not to do the best you can do. We all have friends that, let's be honest, most of the time they lead us into trouble. You know, you've got these people in your life, and as you grow, you grow beyond them. And that's not putting them down or you down. That's not anything negative. It's just that you want to grow. And especially if you want to grow into a professional area, whatever that may be. You know, Saffron's as professional as any CEO I've ever met. You know,
Sometimes.
And sometimes she's a little crazy, but that's what makes her so awesome.
Oh, thanks.
I can't believe such a lovely girl always distorts herself on her pictures.
Do you know what? I'm doing it twice as much now, because someone, and if you're watching this, you know exactly who you are, told me that I need to smile more, and I will not do it.
But I do want to spit it out there. I do this myself, and I don't care what anybody thinks about it. One thing I don't have time for, I work 15 hours a day sometimes. I'm a busy man. I do not have time for arguing. I won't do it with anybody.
Me either.
If I get on social media and someone wants to be mean and nasty toward me, And I don't just talking about me. I'm talking about you, audience. When someone is not being fair to you or is being derogatory or condescending, don't waste your time. You're not going to change them by
Hmm.
arguing with them. They have their point of view for whatever reason, and they're not going to let it go.
Hmm.
So you can grind along for a week listening to that, letting it depress the hell out of you. Or check this out, it works every time. I love it. Ugh, that guy's being awful mean and unfriendly. Three, two, one. Click, 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 click. He doesn't exist in my life. One nice thing about social media, you can wipe somebody completely out of your world in a few clicks. Cut them loose.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time with mean people. There's too many really nice people out there that you'll love talking with.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I'm with you 100% with what you said. I'm just a little less patient. Somebody's mean, I'm done.
I now have a rule for myself because I found myself looking at social media too much. This is probably going to be the last thing we talk about. Is that if anything, because it's not fucking worth it, if anything I see on social media pisses me off, I close the app. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I close it, I swipe it away from myself, and I go, I'm not doing that anymore because I used to get into this hole. Even like I'd find a horrible comment and I'd deep dive and I go, who is this person? And I'd try and find out who they were. Wouldn't do anything with it, but it would just be like a fascination thing to me. And then
Mhm.
I'd waste hours of my week. What a fucking waste of time. What a waste of time. Social
Mhm.
media is disgusting. I love it, but it's awful. But I can't live without it. It's an abusive relationship to me, which I found some of my best friends on it. But I also have found some of the most abhorrent people that I've ever encountered in my life. So, yeah, curate your experience. We don't have any other questions in the chat. I have run out of questions. It's been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate your time today. I hope that anyone that's watching this now, I hope that you're having a good day. And thank you so much for joining us today. For anyone that's watching the recording, I also hope that you're doing well and that you have a good rest of the week or wherever you are. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll see you later.
I've had a wonderful time. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.